Hey, what's up, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for this episode of my random horror reviews. Today's episode is episode 101. So, episode 100 has come and gone now as a viewer's choice for those who don't know. But I just wanted to quickly thank you guys again for joining me on my channel and watching my videos. Like, all the support really does mean a lot, so I wanted to quickly say thank you again. But either way, getting into today's review. And today's movie is a fourth installment in a slasher franchise. From the year 2011, today's movie is Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings. I remember this one being one of the better ones in the franchise, at least in my opinion, comfortably at least being in the better half of the installments. To be honest, there's only one movie in this franchise that I really, really like, and that is the first original Wrong Turn movie. Like this one, in my mind, has always sort of been my second favorite, but I just feel like the first movie is like steps above the rest. But to be fair, the other installments I actually haven't rewatched in a long time. It had been a long time since I last watched Wrong Turn 4. The most recent film in the franchise that I had watched before this one was actually the remake, which I've done a full length review of on my channel before, but I actually haven't even seen parts 5, 6. There might even be a part 7 by now, I'm not really too sure, but yeah, it had been a little while since I checked out part 4. The first movie is easily my favourite, like steps above the rest, but either way, we'll get into the plot for this one before I ramble on and get into my thoughts of it. So, the plot for this one, it opens in the 70s, and we have a look at our antagonists for the franchise, the three inbred hillbilly cannibal brothers, and they're inside this hospital, this isolated, deserted hospital in the middle of like barren land, snow everywhere. And it shows us them escaping this hospital, or like sort of breaking out of their cells and running rampant. We skip forward to the early 2000s, if I remember correctly. The hospital is now abandoned, as I said, isolated in the middle of the snow, but the Cannibal Brothers are still living there. And we have a group of teens who stumble across the hospital in the middle of this snowstorm. They're trying to get out of it. And of course, the brothers then start picking them off one by one. So that's pretty much the plot for Wrong Turn 4. And getting into my thoughts of it, so it's pretty much what you would kind of expect for a franchise at this point. Lower budgeted, not very plot heavy and plot driven, just there for blood, boobs, gore, that sort of thing. And like I said before, I remember this one being pretty solid, though I'd still say it's definitely in the better half of the installments in the franchise, just off my memory. It was not as fun as I remembered it being, which is unfortunate because it does have what I said before, blood, boobs, gore, which we love in our slasher movies. It's got bad acting, dumb characters, which is just a bonus. It should be one of those movies where you can flick your brain off and just have a good time and just watch people get cut up and gore effects and everything like that. And it kind of is in a way, but at some points it just doesn't go as hard as I feel like it should have. So I guess we'll go into that a little bit further in this review. So this movie actually opens with a bang. It's just chaos, lots of blood, gore. Sets the setting being in this isolated hospital or asylum, if you want to call it that, in the middle of the snow, which is just fucking awesome. First of all, the setting in this one is just fucking incredible. It's so good. It's probably one of the best parts of this movie. And like I said, that opening being based in the 70s, we're having a look at the three brothers back when they're actually kids. I think the introduction to this movie is actually really fucking cool. And as usual, the villains being our three inbred hillbilly cannibal brothers. They're really just cool characters. Obviously, they don't talk or whatever. They haven't got much wit, but they're entertaining to watch. I feel like through the films, as the franchise goes on, their prosthetics just get worse and worse. By this point, it's almost like they're wearing masks and it's not actually meant to be their skin. Yeah, I just feel like the prosthetics have gotten worse and worse. But moving on from that, it's a good start. But then we get into our cast of teens to just be picked off. All dumb, annoying teens who just are there to root each other and get high, which is normally fine in a film like this. Even the bad performances, because there are a lot of bad performances in this movie. Again, that's normally fine, and even still is somewhat. But when there are long waits between kills in this group, and the acting can't carry itself whatsoever, and you don't care about any of the teens who are getting picked off. That's where it starts to get drawn out, and that's probably the biggest problem with this movie for me, in my opinion. So when we move on and get into the gore and kills that are put into action in this movie, they're all done fairly well. I feel like the effects are pretty awesome, pretty cool. It's pretty much what you would kind of expect for a franchise again at this point, where it's mostly practical, a little bit of CGI thrown in there. Yes, it's not done the cleanest, like a high-budgeted horror film or anything like that. But, with a movie like this, it's still pretty cool. Lots of blood, fun effects, it's done fairly well, and I feel like there are some pretty cool kill sequences in this movie as well. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with the Hillbilly Brothers overall. Like I said before, they have no dialogue or anything, but they're definitely a lot more entertaining than our victims are in this movie, which, getting into our lead in this movie, there is nothing special about her at all. Nothing about her draws us into her character more than the others, which you kind of want from a lead. That's what the lead is meant to be, someone that you somewhat care about and want to survive. In a movie like this one, like I said before, you don't care that people are getting picked off and killed whatsoever. Like, they're just there to be slashed up, blood, gore, and everything. But our lead, you kind of somewhat want to care about her, but in this one, there's just nothing special about her at all, and she's just cannon fodder too. On top of that, she makes some of the worst back-to-back decisions that I've seen in a long time in a horror movie. Like, just fucking terrible decision making. But I'm a little bit more lenient on that because, again, what type of movie this is, so that's not the biggest issue going around. It's just mainly her character in general is just not very engaging or entertaining. But again, this movie being a turn your brain off dumb little slasher, it just isn't doing as much good as I remember it doing, which is very unfortunate. So getting back into sort of what I said in my introduction, this is still one of the stronger entries in the franchise, at least in my opinion, and by all means it's definitely still not a bad movie at all, but the characters being absolutely nothing special, which again, in a movie like this is normally fine, but this movie, when you're following these characters so heavily, and it's not as chaotic and as many kills and sequences like that as what I remember, that's where it starts to become a problem at times, because then you're just putting up with annoying dumb characters and you're like, okay, can someone please fucking kill them by now? The best this movie has is fun kills whenever they happen. The brothers are always pretty entertaining. The best thing of all, easily, is the setting and atmosphere, because I love it being set in the snow. It's just so cool. The hospital setting as well is actually pretty awesome. And then the atmosphere, it just feels so cold and wet and dreary. I just really like that as well. Even the backstory for the brothers at the start, back in the 70s and whatever, though a fun opening sequence, it's not really necessary either. It doesn't really add or change a dynamic or anything different. But as I said, at least it's a fun introduction and opening sequence with lots of blood, gore, and fun moments, so at least it's got that for it. There's actually a pretty funny part where a doctor says that the brothers can't feel any pain because of a condition they have, though there are multiple scenes in this movie where they clearly show pain, and that just sort of makes me laugh. I guess that line was thrown in there just because, like, oh, how do these brothers keep putting up with, these people fighting back and not feeling it as much? It was probably just a line thrown in there to cover that up, but there's no point of saying that when later they show pain or like show fear of being hurt. It's like, I don't know, it's sort of dumb. But anyways, great setting, fun enough, just not as fun as I remember or was hoping or really feel like it could have been. So getting into a rating for Wrong Turn 4 Bloody Beginnings, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. So yeah, let me know some of your favorite installments in the franchise. I know a lot of people really like Part 2. Again, I haven't seen any of the later installments in a long time. I haven't seen Part 5, 6. Let me know if there's a Part 7, I don't know. But Part 4, the OG, the first one, I really fucking love. And the remake, I don't love the remake at all. I actually don't think it's very solid at all. But they're the three that I remember most of all, so maybe I got to go back and actually check out 2 again, or some of the other ones, I don't know. But thank you for joining me for this review. Let me know your thoughts of Wrong Turn 4 in the comments below, and I'll see you for another video soon, guys. Peace.